go ahead and get started. Just as a note, as we're using the webinar, or as we're going throughout the webinar, please make sure you're utilizing the Q&A function. We'll be getting to Q&A at the very end of the demo. So just make sure that they're using the Q&A if you have any questions. But first, let's go ahead and kick it off actually with a poll. So as we're getting started today, you've heard about ForesightAI most likely, which is why you're here. So I'm just for me and how I want to tailor this demo, I just want to know for you, what are you most interested in with ForesightAI? As far as the information that you've heard, are you most interested in solving for overstock, solving for stockouts, saving time reordering, saving time and guesswork of how much to order, as well as everything, or are you unsure? Looks like we got some answers rolling in, quite a few everythings, which makes a lot of sense, completely valid. And then we have a couple folks who are chatting about overstock, stockouts, and saving time in guesswork. Give you a few more moments to answer the poll if you would like, just so I kind of know where to spend my time today. But don't worry, I will cover everything. Perfect. I think it's evened out on everything. Thank you so much for participating. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. And with that, we will go ahead and get started. So my name is Zoe. I'm an account manager here at Cin7. I've been here for about 2 years. However, I have been pretty focused on ForesightAI for the last 6 months. So I would say I'm fairly well versed. We also have Joe on the call. He is a customer success specialist here at Cin7 as well. And he's going to be helping me with the Q&A and is also pretty familiar with ForesightAI. So with that, we'll go ahead and kick off into it. What is ForesightAI? So ForesightAI is a sales and inventory forecasting tool used to help you know what to order, when to order it, and how much you should be ordering. So Forecast AI is designed to take out the guesswork of your inventory management to give you back time in reordering, as well as capital in your overstock and stock out amounts that goes back into your pocket. So Foresight AI can also help make crucial business decisions in what products are performing well, allowing you to dig deeper into your business strategy and become more efficient and successful. So with that, let's go ahead and hop into the demo. So first things first, we're going to see this inventory health, and this may be available to you on your current account, just to kind of give you an idea of what it's going to look like. This new Foresight AI technology is going to be branded with this purple Foresight AI. It's also going to show you the last sync. Granted, mine's a Q&A environment that we do need to manually sync, so ours is a little bit, you'll notice that it's about 3 days of a sync. However, yours is probably going to be multiple times a day, so I just wanted to call that out in case you were a little bit worried. But like I said, this is going to give you a big snapshot of what Foresight AI is trying to solve for, right? What does your inventory health look like? So by clicking into Explore, it's actually going to show us a product availability report. So what items are overstock, what items are stocked out, as well as which ones are stocked regularly. So again, we'll see this purple AI branding, and we're going to see, wow, we have quite a bit of overstock. So we shouldn't be ordering those items, right? If the computer is generating, or if the computer has calculated that there's overstock. And you're probably wondering what that means, overstock, right? So overstock is going to be anything excess of the sales forecast calculated, as well as the safety stock recommended by Foresight AI to have on hand. And if we keep going through, we can see that we actually may have some stockouts as well. And eventually, we'll also see that we may have some winners, which are going to be items that perform exceptionally well. And those are going to have a purple crown here. So hopefully I can show you a example of that. Here we go. There's that purple AI, and here is a overstock amount. So by clicking into Explore, you can have access to this report. You can always export it if you'd like as well, since I think core reporting is maybe not as robust as we would all like it to be. As we're thinking about this, and here is a pro tip for you as someone who has attended this webinar, focus on your winners and your items that are stocked out, right? So these are going to be items that are making you money, and you're therefore missing out on the revenue. So if you can, or if you have cash flow constraints, this is going to be an immediate priority, and it's going to be an easy win as you're starting to use this software. Next, we'll scroll down and we'll see that probably for your account, you're only going to have inventory health. So I'll probably go into some new stuff now that you won't be able to see or have access to until you actually purchase the software. So we have this over and under stock, and this is going to break down even further what category a specific SKU falls into. So we have our stockouts, we have our healthy stock, and we have our overstock, and each of these is going to click into report, essentially filtering as such. So a little bit more than the product availability report. So here's a couple facts. Did you know that excess inventory can tie up 20 to 40% of revenue for businesses, hampering cash flow? This is going to be our overstock amount. So, like I said earlier, a pro tip focusing on the winners that are stocked out. As you start to dial that in, the other thing you're going to want to focus on is your overstock items and starting to sell through those. Also, did you know that overstock can prompt discounts of 50% or more, hurting profit margins? So, as we start to dial in and start to work with our smart reorder and our replenishment, and we start to order essentially less overstock, you're eventually going to have to not necessarily sell through that. Or if it's just sitting in a warehouse right now, thinking about how we can order less of those items and sell through at an actual normal pricing rather than having to discount to get rid of it. Also, did you know that the average US retailer has only 63% inventory accuracy, mainly caused by human error? You're probably thinking right now, well, how am I using, what does my reorder process look like and which of these categories do I fall into, right? Am I mainly prone to stockouts? Am I mainly prone to overstock? And why is that? Generally speaking, a lot of you are probably, if you're not using another inventory forecasting software, you're likely using Excel and going with your gut maybe a little bit to what the current forecast looks like. I challenge you to think about how your reordering is now and what Foresight AI can do for you. Generally speaking, because your current reordering process, if you're not using another inventory software or inventory forecast software, because you're using the Excel documents and downloading reports, A, you're spending a lot of time. B, it's a lot of guesswork, but you're also a little bit reactive, right? You're looking at your previous sales. You have an idea of what your current sales orders may look like, and you're saying, okay, because X, Y, and Z, I'm going to need to react and look at my stock on hand and then order accordingly. Foresight AI is actually proactive, right? So I'll get to the smart reorder in a little bit, but essentially it's a different way of thinking in that if you're following the smart reorder and the replenishment, you're going to have less stockouts, you're going to have less overstock, which means more money in your pocket. So essentially, the overstock and understock reporting can help prioritize what products to focus on for a maximum efficiency. So like I said, feel free to click on each section for a report in each category. And you can also filter by locations on both of these. Next, I'm also going to get to winners and losers. And again, we're getting more granular with the data offerings to you with Foresight AI. So again, no more filing through Excel and creating pivot tables to get this information. It's a time save for you. So instead of having to do that, now you have the time to actually be looking at the data and making those business strategy decisions instead of the time it taking to actually filter through the data. So it's also dynamic because this is constantly syncing. Again, yours will be syncing a little bit more than my QA environment. It's always creating these micro adjustments from your real-time sales and your AI. So again, you're getting that real-time data of what a winner and a loser is, real-time data of what is overstocked and understocked. So you're not having to constantly be, downloading reports to get that data, which is, very static. So each category of the winners and losers is going to show you a snapshot of your overall stock value and your stock share of that category across your business. So why does this matter? You can now quickly and easily identify which products are driving growth as well as which ones are holding you back. So this is going to help you optimize the inventory levels of winners to maximize revenue and eliminate lost sales from stockouts. So as we're thinking about our winners and our losers, we're thinking about how dynamic this is because it is constantly updating, making those micro adjustments. I kind of actually want to do a poll. Poll being, let me bring it up. The poll is going to be, how confident are you in your winners and losers? And also kind of thinking about the data offered to you, we have just the stock value of your winners as well as the stock share. What percentage of your stock are winners? Are you able to get this data now? Does it take you a long time? How confident kind of are you in your winners and losers? Looks like we have a couple twos, a couple threes, one not confident, one very confident. Just kind of wanted to let you know that yes, this is information that is easily available if you purchase. So regardless of your process now and maybe how confident you are, at the very least, it could be a time save. And, oh, I clicked into the reporting. I did not mean to do that. We'll go back to the dashboard. Thank you so much for participating in the poll. We're going to go ahead and end that right now. But don't worry, we'll have more polls to go. So we'll go back down to winners and losers. And the last thing I want to touch on in this page is the stock trend. So this is going to be more insights on how well your stock is performing by category over time. So you'll notice that we have stockouts, lost revenue to stockouts, as well as overstock value. If we scroll to the top, this is the information that's in the inventory health report, but this is going to be a snapshot versus this graph is going to show you how well it's been performing over time, kind of giving you a direction and giving you the knowledge of where you want to move in the future. So we can see that stockouts over time have started to level out. Lost revenue to stockouts has spiked recently, but also has leveled out. And I see that my overstock value is climbing over time. So this is giving me the knowledge to be able to say, okay, I probably don't need to focus so much on stockouts right now. That seems to have evened out, but overstock is slowly climbing. So that's probably something I should take a look into. Now, before we move on to the next page, I am going to launch one more poll, and this one is what feature so far seems most useful to you or helpful? Talking about, we have this inventory health report, or sorry, inventory health module, overstock and understock. We have winners and losers, and then we have the stock trend graphs. And it looks like folks are pretty interested in the winners and losers insights. We have more answers coming in, and for the most part, it actually looks like it's pretty even with stock trends squeaking out with the most interesting. And just kind of wanted to point out and highlight what we've been over so far, just kind of give you an idea of what could be most useful to you. Thank you so much for participating. I will go ahead and end this poll. All right, so moving right along, now we're going to go ahead and look at the reordering process. So we just went over all the new insights available to you to show you the health of your inventory. So now the question is, how do we fix it, right? So like I said, ForesightAI is designed to fix a very big problem, right? When to order, what to order, and how much. And this is where smart reorder comes into the picture. So if we scroll to purchases, we'll see that now we have this new smart reorder. So taking a step back, Foresight AI is using your sales order history, AI, and a bunch of algorithms to calculate your reorder quantity. Not only that, it's relying on your purchase order periods, meaning how frequently you order, and lead times, how long it takes for you to place a purchase order to receiving the product. And these are also going to be conditions that are going to factor into this reorder generation, essentially. So there's a huge complexity behind the number generated, and here are some ways that you might want to view this page. So we have period, and this is going to be when you want to order. So you can see that you can order today, next week, or even a few next months into your forecasting, or even a custom date range. These adjustments may help depending on how often you'd like to order. So if I want to look at all my orders that I need to place today, I can do that. For example, you could also click this week if you wanted to get all your ordering done today for the next 7 days, or perhaps you have more specific orders you need to make daily, then you could keep it on today. In this case, I will go ahead and filter through this week. Reorder type. So this is going to be what type of movement the stock is making essentially. So purchase is going to be a pretty straightforward purchase order going from a supplier and coming into your warehouse, or, essentially buying from a third party and getting that into your inventory. A transfer is going to be just that, a transfer internally between branches, between warehouses, between stores, etc. And then if you use assembly, meaning if you use production jobs or assembly jobs, this is also going to give you a recommendation on how much you should be assembling at a time. And it's actually going to create a production job in order to complete that, which I think is really awesome. And I'll get to that in a second. You can also filter by supplier, and you can be really specific, with what supplier you want to be looking at, as well as destination location, so where the stock is going to ultimately end up. So we'll keep it on this week purchase all, and I want you to think right now, what is your process for reordering? And I've asked you already to think about it, but as all I have to do is generate suggestions, and it is going to take all of that guesswork out for me. So I'm not having to look at Excel sheets. I'm not having to look at any more reporting. All I have to do is click that button. Huge, huge, huge time save. So we have our suggestions for this week. And like I said, because there is micro adjustments, this could change slightly from day to day. So just kind of keep track of when it says you should be ordering, which is going to be right here, this reorder date. So we have our location, where it's going to, supplier, where it's coming from, the product, the reorder date, the units of measure, available at, available, and the reorder quantity. Something I'd like to call out is if you click on this reorder quantity, it is editable. So this is where that human element meets the AI element, and this is where you are going to know your business. You know your business best. This is just a suggestion, and here's where you can impact that. So if you have cash flow constraints, if you're trying to phase out an item and maybe you don't want to be ordering as much, maybe you're okay being prone to stockouts or overstock, this is where you can actually ultimately override this suggestion and impact that number. And then if we keep going to the right, we'll have the price. So if I want to order, all I have to do is click these on the left, and then I get to click this reorder button. And it's going to create a draft PO. All I then have to do is approve it, and then we're all set. So you can see how, that's a pretty easy process. If we were to if we were to click on assembly and this week and generate suggestions, it's not going to have any available, but essentially what it's going to do is say the location of the assembly or production job. Let's see actually if we can see anything this month. Production's not available. Okay. Um, so it's going to show you the location of where the production job is going to occur, the product, the reorder date, so when you should start the assembly job or production job, the unit of measure, when it will be available. So it's going to give you a date, and the date's going to be when the suggestion of starting the production job is, and when it will be, available right here is when it will be finished, how many you currently have on order or available, the minimum order quantity, and the reorder quantity is going to be the suggestion of how many you should be assembling. So you can see throughout this, there is a flow of being able to track goods essentially from the reordering process all the way to getting it to the correct warehouse so that it's available to match your sales forecast. And the way that it works is it's essentially working backwards. So Foresight AI is having your sales forecast, and then it also has your inventory forecast, and then it's going to work backwards from there. And so what that means is it's looking and saying, okay, how do I get this final good to the warehouse at the correct time? Does it need assembly? Yes, we're going to build that time in. So then we're going to work backwards from there. Does it just need to be shipped from a supplier? Okay, we can work backwards from there. And then also with the smart reorder, we can see how that product actually moves around, right? So a purchase may just have the raw materials, and then a transfer would have it be moving from maybe the initial warehouse to the assembly job warehouse, and then could transfer over, and then it could have an assembly order attached, or order, or a production job order attached to it. That happens in that warehouse, and then maybe it transfers to its final destination. And that's going to be tracked with these generating suggestions all on this page. So it's not, there's a lot of complexity behind it, but you can see that by just generating suggestions, following and reordering, it's really easy to not have to keep track of all of that because Foresight AI does it for you. Next, we'll move to reports. And the new Foresight AI reports are going to be available to you in purple again. And it's all available to you. All these reports are available on that dashboard. But if you just want to jump to the reporting and jump here, I just wanted to call that out. Pro tip, though, because you're attending this webinar and now you'll have that knowledge. Due to some constraints of reporting within Core, I would recommend downloading the winners and losers report into Excel to get better access to the information. If you've used Core reporting, like I said, there are some constraints. In this case, with winners and losers, it will go alphabetically rather than being laid out more by numbers, I guess you could say. So instead of winners and losers, it'll actually have chasers and then losers and then winners, and then it'll go by warehouse location rather than SKU. So because of that, it's not quite as easily laid out as I would like it to be. But however, this is something that we are working on. So just wanted to call that out. Last but not least, I want to talk about fine tuning. So all of this you're going to be using day to day. And I'm sure this is already blowing your mind. However, there may be some fine tuning that you need within your account immediately or in the future. For example, do you have labor as a SKU? How do we hide that? What do we do about new items? What about SKUs that you're sunsetting? So you can all find this under the forecast and setting tab under the smart reorder. So if we go to purchases and we go to smart reorder, we'll see that in this top right-hand corner, we have this forecast and settings. So if we click on that, this is where we can kind of fine tune the account. And if you've been following the Foresight AI journey, you'll be aware that this used to be branded as Inventoro, and so this is where you'll get that view if you are familiar with that. So a lot of this is available to you already in core as modules and sections that we went over, but this may give you the information organized a bit differently. So feel free to poke around here as you get acquainted with your account. As I mentioned earlier, the number one reason you're likely to click into this is to adjust your settings, and you can adjust your settings by clicking on the top right icon with your company name and then scrolling down to the edit arena. Here you can make the SKU by SKU adjustments to help fine-tune your data shown in your ForesightAI in your core platform. So for example, we can click into product and then we can search for a product and then it'll show up down here. And as far as what information you're able to edit, it is pretty robust in what you can do. So we have our product, we have our supplier, and again, this is by a location warehouse level. Here you can set a minimum order quantity. So how many you'd like to order if you have a special deal from a supplier. We also have packing. So this would be how many come in a package. And this would be something like, 12 rolls of toilet paper coming into one package. Orderability and visibility. Orderability, if checked, is going to show up in your ForesightAI as I've shown you. However, if you have it unchecked, it's no longer going to show up in replenishment. This would be something like custom furniture. And what I mean by that is that's not something that you want to have on hand, right? That's something that's made to order. So because of that, I don't want it to necessarily show up in my replenishment to something to recommend to have on hand. I'll go ahead and I can just order that on the side as a regular purchase order as needed. Visibility is going to take it out of ForesightAI technology and module altogether. So it's not going to show up in replenishment, forecast, or winners and losers. An example of this would be like labor, or it could be something like water. If you're just getting water like out of a tap, not necessarily something that you want to be ordering. Like labor, you don't need to order labor. And you also don't necessarily want it to be showing up in the forecast or the winners and the losers. We also have our created date. If you want to set a minimum and maximum inventory to override ForesightAI's calculated safety stock, you're welcome to do so. If you work in food, expiration in days, just as a note, this isn't necessarily going to track batch numbers, but it is going to track once you receive the good about how many days you have until it expires. We also have purchase periods and lead times. These are calculated over from core on a supplier level. So how frequently you're ordering from a supplier, about how long it takes us to get those goods. However, if you have a certain SKU that's an outlier to those, you can set them on that SKU by SKU level here. We also have volume, weight, and then predecessor is going to be, I think this is really cool and I like to call it out. It's where you can link item to item for sales order history data if you have a new item. And what I mean by that is if you have a new item, ForesightAI needs at least 90 days of data in order to accurately start forecasting. However, you can link these items so that it immediately is forecasting. And then as you have sales, it'll actually start to make those micro adjustments so that it has its own forecast. So pretty cool there. Replenishment recommendations, how you want it to be replenished or what you want it to focus on, automatic replenish using sales forecast, using minimum inventory if you want to set that, as well as replenishment using custom orders. A couple other things I want to call out specifically are this forecast page. Like I said, this information is available to you in the core module. However, if you're more visual like myself, you may want to look into this view to see what your forecast looks like. I really like it because this graph is super dynamic in that you can actually use these filters to immediately change the graph. What I mean by that is right now it's giving me my entire forecast for all of my SKUs. However, I can look more granular at a certain warehouse. If it will load, fun of demo data. We'll go ahead and just look at all warehouses, but you'll see how it immediately changed. And really the graph would change depending on which warehouse and will likely happen for you. And again, you can also see your winners and losers here in another view and also filter by warehouse, supplier, category, and product. Right now, you can filter by warehouse within the core module, but if you want to get more granular, you're more than welcome to kind of check this out, like I said. So definitely worth spending some time in here. And also you can create a forecast adjustment here, generally speaking, because like I said, ForesightAI is based on your sales order history data, AI and algorithms. It doesn't know what a future state that it doesn't know. So what I mean by that is you can make a forecast adjustment, change in percentage, trend in percentage, change in quantity. Change in percentage would be something like a marketing campaign, right? Something where you're expecting an immediate, pretty big spike in sales. You can go ahead and, make that adjustment here for that way that inventory can be planned ahead so that you can have it on time. You're not really worried about stockouts. Trend in percentage, which would be something a little bit more longer term, such as opening a new store or pairing with a new distributor who's probably also going to have a lot more sales in the future. And then also changing quantity, and this would be a SKU by SKU level. So something along the lines of, going viral on TikTok or something. So wanted to call that out as well. Let's see. That's pretty much all I have to go over specifically. But I did want to pull up another slide as we're kind of ending the actual presentation part before we get into Q&A. So if there's anything I can leave you with, let me leave you with this. Foresight AI's advanced forecasting empowers businesses with affordable, intuitive tools to unlock efficiency, free up inventory capital, and never miss a sale. So if you like the information we just went over, please feel free to take advantage of Foresight AI's new sign-up offer. For the first 300 participants, we're giving away 6 months 50% off, as well as access to free onboarding. Huge, huge, huge. That's a $750 value. So you get that as well as a 6 months 50% off. Great deal if you're looking to move forward with this. And you can sign up for Foresight AI under your subscription tab in Core. So with that, please feel free to stick around for Q&A. We will be sending out a copy of this recording in a follow-up email. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining and have a wonderful day. Now, Joe, let's go ahead and get to some questions.
Yeah, we have a few questions that have come up. So I think the first one is really important, but when you do update your stock categories, will that work out based on the history of the product, or will it start calculating from the day you change that category? So like if you made that product change, how does that interact with Foresight AI?
Yeah, as long as the sales order history is still tied to the SKU, it shouldn't have an impact. So you can move things around, but as long as the SKU, you can rename it and you can change, the category and everything. As long as the sales order history is still tied to the SKU, you shouldn't have an impact. However, if you do change an impact and that does change the trajectory, of the good and how you're marketing it, et cetera, that is going to be those micro adjustments that I was talking about with AI that'll appear in your sales forecast.
Um, does the AI take into account that certain products are specific to certain customers, and some may be like made to order, but like aren't stocked out? But if, I'm making something for a customer, will it take into account that?
Can you repeat the first part of that question?
Yeah. If there are certain products that are just specific to certain customers and are made to order, and not stocked out and like not stocked. So like if I was making fly fishing rods for, just anybody who had called in, but I wanted to see which rod was a winner or loser, but I was making them to order, would the sales order data tie into that, or would it make a difference, or would the AI be able to take that into account still?
Yeah, totally. So that would be something that, like I said, over in the edit arena. Give this just a minute to load. So that would be kind of that orderability and visibility. And truthfully, there's a lot of users of Foresight AI who they don't use the replenishment for all of their stock, right? There's some folks who say, hey, I really like this tool, but it really only is applicable to 20% of our stock. That's totally, totally something that I've seen before. It sounds like what you would probably want to do is have it be not orderable. So I don't necessarily think that that smart reorder would be something that you'd want, right? Because you probably don't want to have that necessarily on hand. You probably, because you're making it to order, you're probably going to be having your own purchase orders on the side. However, because it's still visible, that is still something that's going to show up in your winners and losers in your forecast. So it is still going to be tracking those sales if you have it visible. So you will be able to see if it is a winner and loser. You could still see a forecast, but maybe you're still saying, okay, maybe you could get essentially like a jump on, what your expected is so that you could be ordering raw materials, but then making to order as needed.
Awesome. Awesome. And um, if there's like a specific use case, so is it possible for a test period for someone to check it out in their environment? They have a very small organization, so like they must reorder, and sales are relatively easy to predict, and it's difficult to see how it would help us, or just kind of someone wants to try it out and kind of see how it would work for their business. Is that still available for folks?
Unfortunately, no. I would say because we're offering the 6 months 50% off, um, I would say that's probably the best way to take advantage of checking it out. This is technically month to month. So if you did find after 3 months that the software wasn't very useful, you can go ahead and cancel it. But at this time, because it is an embedded experience, we're not offering trials. That's just a limitation of the platform.
And does warehousing, Zoe, does that make a difference? Let's say that you have outsourcing of your warehouse that you're using. Does that affect the system, or how does that work for a company that, let's say, they warehouse in Detroit, but they're actually based in Portland, Oregon, or something like that?
Yeah, totally. So that's going to be that transfer. So as long as you have that warehouse set up, and maybe it's just like a dummy warehouse within the system, it'll transfer over to there. You can have that assembly job, and maybe the assembly job doesn't actually take place in-house. Maybe it really is something that you just have to call over and say, hey, this is my request. You're putting in a purchase order for something like that. And then it gets transferred back into your other warehouse or your own warehouse ecosystem again. That's totally something. If you're using something like a 3PL, you do see that as a warehouse in here as well. And it will help you plan accordingly. So that stock gets to your 3PL, it gets to that third party warehouse, and then you can still use it as like either transfers or selling goods out of there. So, yes, this does accommodate for that.
Awesome. And that was that's the last one that I see on here, so I think we got them all answered.
Awesome. We have 10 minutes left. Cool. Well, in that case, feel free to stick around if you have any more questions in the I don't know, I guess in like 30 seconds. But we'll go ahead and wrap up now. If you'd like to take off, not a problem. I will, like I said, be sending out a copy of this recording after, and then that is attached to my email. So if you do have any follow-up questions, feel free to shoot me an email after. Um,
Oh, we do have one more that came in here.
okay.
Um, heard that they're offering 6 months as a discount to use the AI tools. Who can they talk to about to check how much it is? I'm assuming that would probably be you, Zoe, if somebody was interested in trying out the 6 month discount.
Yep. You can chat with me and I can verify what your rate is. You can also see it in your subscription tab. So as you add the Foresight AI software, you'll see that how it changes your bill. And then you can essentially like calculate how much it is there. I believe it starts so it's based on total sales last 365 days. So it does vary customer to customer. And it is in USD, just kind of as a note. So give me just a second. Um, Let me pull up what the pricing looks like. So if you're somebody who does less than 2 million USD a year, it's going to be 149 USD. So then it would be 75 USD roughly per month for the first 6 months. If you make between 2 and 5 million turnover USD, it's going to be about 300. Again, it'll be 150, 6 months, 50% off. And then between 5 and 10, it'll be $400. USD 200 with the 6 months 50% off. And then anything over that, it is higher, and I can verify with you directly. So that's kind of the ballpark of what you're looking at. Again, feel free to email me if you have any questions. Awesome. I think that is it, Joe, I believe.
Yep, yep, that's it. That's it.
Okay, perfect. In that case, everyone have a wonderful rest of your day, morning, evening, and I will be following up with the link shortly. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.